What advice would you give your younger self? And have you ever had the privilege of sitting down with someone who has truly been around the block and their stories just captivate you and their wisdom resonates? And the most remarkable part is that we only need to listen. These really seasoned individuals have already navigated challenges. They've learned the tough lessons and they've emerged with invaluable insights. Now we have the opportunity to learn from their experiences and avoid all those pitfalls that they encountered. This truly profound concept is the inspiration behind our new webinar series, very appropriately called Dear Younger Self. And today I am joined by good friend and orthodontist, Dr. Seth Briggs, who is in private practice in Austin, Texas. And today he was willing to sit down and share with me what he has learned along his journey from being an orthodontist in the United States Air Force to starting his own practice in 2012. Let's get started. Hi, Dr. Briggs. How are you today?
Hey, Lorraine. How are you doing? I'm doing great.
Great. Well, I wanted to first of all congratulate you on being our very first Dear Younger Self webinar.
Thanks.
So
We'll,
I get to
we'll break the ice
experiment on
here.
you today.
Yeah, well, good. Yeah. Happy to do
So
it.
no, it's so wonderful. And as I mentioned in the intro, this idea came to me because I think all too often we sit, maybe we're 20 years in practice, 30 years in a career, and we've learned some things the hard way along
Sure.
the way.
Hmm.
And we think everybody knows it. We forgot we had to learn it that way. And I thought, wouldn't it be such an inspiration to go back and say, let's say, what year did you come out of college? What year was that? Do you remember?
97, I graduated from undergrad.
1997.
Yeah.
So if you were to meet yourself, right, the whole concept of the webinar is to say, I would really give myself some pretty good advice now that I've
Yeah.
done it and how valuable that would be to
Sure.
you in going through your career. But now you get to be able to say and speak to those other, what that was 27 years ago, right? So did I do my
Yeah.
math right? Um,
You are right.
yeah. So, the idea that you could share some pearls of wisdom of what you learned along the way. And we've already sat and talked a little bit about some of your ideas. And the number one I had written down here was you had talked a little bit about surrounding yourself with experts. So fill us in on that idea and how that's worked for you.
Yeah, so I think when I, had that concept, I really think it meant what I was primarily thinking about was kind of like the financial experts and the accounting experts and just those kind of experts. And you could probably extend it to other things, but I just feel like, sometimes we as orthodontists, we top of our class, we graduate, we, work through dental school and then through ortho, and we kind of think I can do it, I can figure it out myself and I'm
Mhm.
smart and I know what to do. But I've really found that with like, especially with financial dealings and, accounting and, financial management, that, bringing in a team of experts, a great accountant team, a great financial planning team,
Mhm.
to advise me and to advise others, advise you on how to best manage, the income that you're making and to plan for the future and to,
Mhm.
all of those things. I just feel like, I mean, I have my hands full with the day-to-day practice decisions, and that when for the few years that I was sort of left to my own devices before I did have a team, I was kind of making knee-jerk decisions and
Mhm.
forgetting about it for a while because I was busy, and then I need to remember to do this, and so bringing in so a group of experts, and we use a company in Oregon called Practice Financial Group, and
Mhm.
they are amazing. Every year we have an annual consult, and in the background they're working for us all year long.
Mhm.
With our taxes and planning, and that's just been so, I sleep so much better at night
Yeah.
with them doing their thing for me. And so, I figure kind of the analogy, and this is, I think, a common one, is people say, well, people are coming to you as the orthodontist, the expert in your field, bypassing the dentist, hopefully, and going to find out, what your thoughts are about this problem that they have. And so I kind of feel like, why would we not employ
Mhm.
experts in the same way within their field to help us, um, and
That's
so
it's
that's been
yeah.
that has been, again, for my sleep quality. But just also, I mean, for example, this is just one small example. Like when we first got out of the Air Force, I was in the Air Force for 10 years before I bought
Mm,
my practice. So got out of the Air Force, and we really had not done a great job with, investing for, retirement, or our two kids as, college 529. So when we started
mm,
making money with, in our practice, we just started like throwing money at this 529, because we were kind of doing the math like, oh, our kids are going to be going to college in 10
yeah.
years. And so we were just throwing money like crazy in 529, and weren't doing any for retirement, because we felt like we had to catch up. And we started working with Practice Financial Group, and he kind of uses this analogy. He's like, when you're in an airplane and you're going to crash, they say, okay, take the face mask, the oxygen mask, and put it on yourself
I love
first
that.
before you
Yes.
put it on your kids. And he's like, that's what we need to do. He said, they're going to be in college for just 4 years, but you have a long retirement. Let's stop, putting money into 529 and put it into your retirement. And then when they get there, we'll figure it out, because at
Yeah.
that point you're 10 more years into practice. And so that we just actually had that consult last month. And I
Hmm.
was like, Ryan, you are awesome, man. That worked out so perfect, because now my daughter, has a couple more years of school. We just were able to kind of, allot those funds from the
Hmm.
practice revenue, and we'd shut off her 529 back when he told me to. And so it felt short, quote unquote, but
Yeah.
we had it covered, so
Yeah.
just like great advice like that, in the moment I thought I was doing the best thing, but it wasn't the right thing.
Hmm. Hmm. And there is a certain investment that you have to make in experts, right? There's a dollars and cents that
Oh
sits
yeah.
beside of that. But what you're saying is like it's worth every dollar,
Oh
right?
man.
And
Uh-huh.
I love that the analogy. It just helps me sleep better at night. I have a feeling a lot of people are going to be like, yeah, that would be great, right?
Yeah, no,
No, I
absolutely.
totally get it. Do you have, first of all, I love the call out that you made. So the name of the company again that you use that you really love. And this is your accounting
So
company.
it's called Practice Financial Group. People say PFG for short. They
Okay.
are they are a full service deal. So I mean, they
Mm,
do our office bookkeeping, they do our taxes, they do our personal financial planning, and then they help us, through the bookkeeping through the office, kind of link it all together. And so it's basically, kind of think of as your practice as an engine to
mm,
provide for your pure personal life and retirement.
hmm.
And so then they help kind of put that all together, so that your revenues are being used in the ways that you want,
Yeah,
based on your goals for the future and for your current too. Like you may have goals within your practice to renovate or to whatever.
right.
So it's like, okay, how do we plan for that?
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's just because it is an all-inclusive deal. They've got bookkeepers, they've got accountants, they've got certified financial planners, they've got
Hmm.
um,
Oh, that's amazing.
tax experts. And so because of that, they can really advise on all that. And so, yeah, I'm so happy to pay that monthly fee to them
Yeah,
each month, because
it's worth every
it's
penny.
worth it.
I
Yeah.
love it. Absolutely love it. And I think that that's pretty interesting in that, I hear this, in many different professions, not just the orthodontic profession, is you get out of school and you really are not prepared to go out into the world. You know how to move teeth. But beyond that, like, building a practice and marketing and hiring and all those things that you have to do when you have your own practice, how
Right.
much of that is even covered in school when you're doing your degree?
I mean, not much when I was going through. I think
Right.
that they have
Yeah.
improved the curriculum, and of course now AAO has the Wharton School Business,
Mhm.
track that you can do, but
Yeah.
it's not a lot. It's not enough
Right.
for
And
sure, but
and I
it's hard
think,
to fit it all in.
not to hit schools over the head, but I
Mhm.
mean, even if you look at, other degrees or even kids going through high school, no one took the time to even tell them how to pay their taxes, right?
Oh
I mean,
no. Yeah, my
you know,
daughter
I
told me that.
I have a cousin, I'm from Ireland, so I have a cousin here from Ireland. I was telling her everybody in the United States once a year has to file a tax return. She's like, That's crazy. How does everybody know how to do that? Do they teach you in school? I'm like, isn't it bizarre that they don't?
No.
You
Yeah.
know, it's you come out of school so ill prepared for, well, life to begin with, but never mind the running of your career, right?
Right.
There's lots of stuff that's missing. So pretty interesting if you can think about yourself being what, 30 years old, getting that piece of information. That I like that a
Right.
lot. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
Now, do you have like a how if you're looking for an expert, do you have like an example of a good way of like sort of weeding through and getting someone good? I mean, recommendations number one, which is
Yeah.
the recommendation you just made. But is that how you've been doing it? Like, how do you actually find good people? Like, just talk to everybody else?
Yeah, that's probably, I mean, I did learn about PFG from another orthodontic colleague.
Yeah,
So I think so, I think that's how within ortho, especially, that's how a lot of things get transferred is you're at a
yeah,
meeting, in this instance, I was at an AAO and I was just having lunch with a colleague and he
yeah,
mentioned it and said how much they'd helped him. So then I looked into
yeah.
it when I got
That's a
home.
good way to
So
weed through it.
yeah, I
Absolutely.
think,
Yeah.
it's hard to internet search some of that stuff. I
Yeah.
think there's so much fluff that
Seems,
you don't always
yeah,
know.
which is again, what's really great about the orthodontic industry. It as industries go, it's pretty small, right?
Yeah. Oh,
And
totally.
and it's so great that you're all on Facebook and you're all on LinkedIn and you're going to conventions, and so that exchange is like almost a good reason to go to a convention and meet up with your colleagues, right?
Right. Hmm.
Obviously, in what I do for a living, I want you all to come to conventions. So that's a great idea to go, is really just to exchange great information.
Oh,
So,
totally. Yeah, no,
yeah.
absolutely.
Now, one of the other topics that you had mentioned that you would like to have told yourself when you were younger is empowering others. That's sort of my little note here. So fill
Yeah.
us in on that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, the one of the ways I always say it now, again, as I've been in practice for some years, is like, don't let every decision have to go through you.
Hmm.
If you're the person that everything has to go through, it delays everything. And so,
Hmm.
yeah, just get a team and have people that are in charge of different things within your practice and then let them make decisions and then have, meetings and check-ins with them. But know that, they are going to make a great decision because you've trained them. And then if they make a bad decision, or if they need help, they'll come grab you. Or if they make a bad decision and make a mistake, well, that's a great like kind of teaching opportunity. But don't be afraid that
Hmm.
they're going to make a bad decision, and so then therefore not give them that power, that give them
Hmm.
that ability to make the decision and have everything come through you, because yeah, it just slows everything down. And honestly, what I've learned too is that I don't always have the best ideas. The team
What?
often is the best. Yeah, exactly. The team often is the bet. They have a better way. If I think, oh, I have this thought, here's what I've been thinking about. Usually once we talk about it as a group with our leadership team and even just with the whole team,
Hmm.
better solutions come out of it. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I really, and you don't have enough time to do it all. You might when you're young in your practice, and that's a funny thing. I just was hanging out with my old office manager. She retired, and saw her yesterday at a thing we were doing with our team, uh, and we were kind of remembering back to the old days when we first started, and she was with me through that, and we were just joking about how, remember, if we needed a flyer for a sponsorship that we were doing, how you would sit there on Word and make it yourself, and and now, gosh, we have a marketing director that takes care of that, and I don't even see most of that stuff. I
Hmm.
just trust that they're going to make great quality stuff, and they kind of know what our brand is, and they know what our the ethos of our practice is, and so they're going to just produce things that look great and are great, and they do.
And
you know
And plus, if you go into starting your practice understanding that you're looking for teams and employees that are capable of taking the reins, right, and making
right.
decisions and are confident, then you're probably, if you're making that decision at the beginning, you're hiring more accurately.
Sure.
And once you get somebody who's great in that position, they're also happier
Hmm.
because they feel empowered And it
Totally.
doesn't just become a 9 to 5 job, right? It becomes
Right.
something that is a career path
Yeah.
where they really feel a part of building something,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they're invested. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're invested in what you're doing and yeah, and they feel empowered. Yeah.
Yes,
Hmm.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Is there a strategy that you use? You're probably thinking, I just tell them like you can make these decisions, but is there a strategy? Is there a way that you do it? How do you train someone up to empowering them and allowing them to make decisions? So just curious.
Yeah, so what I think is helpful is, one, you have to really speak your expectations clearly at the start.
Mhm.
Two, you have to give them a deadline of when it needs to be done so that
Mhm.
they have a sense of like, and it's not even like it has to be 100%, but that's our next check-in. But that way they know that, okay, I need to do it by here. And, if
Mhm.
it's just sort of like, hey, we should do this, and there's no deadline and there's no really like
Right.
bones, then it often doesn't happen. And then you kind of get frustrated because like, hey, we talked about that. And they're like, well, I didn't know you needed it now. So it's like if you set a good deadline, then you can be working on it. And sometimes the deadline is really just like, hey, I know you wanted it by here, but we've been slammed. So and so's been sick. I can't get it to you. It's like,
Mhm.
gotcha, but
Right.
it just keeps everybody accountable. So yeah, I think setting deadlines, giving great expectations, and then we have a ton of meetings, which, sometimes meetings are a pain, but we have a lot of meetings in our office where we just,
Mhm.
okay, 2 people, 3 people, the whole team, where we meet and we say, okay, where are we at with this? And everybody has a little notepad and we're making notes and trying to just, get that problem solved and working through what's the next thing that we need to do and the next
Mhm.
decision. And,
That's
and so
that's
that's
great.
probably the main thing. Yeah.
I mean, those are great steps. I also think that if you're going to empower your employees, and you touched on this, and sometimes they make great decisions and sometimes they don't, is your reaction to the don't, right? That didn't work so well. And I find inside my own team that once I was able to change their mindset from being fearful of making a decision, to saying, oh, wow, that didn't work. Let's pull it apart and decide why we think that didn't work. And then let's rethink how we're going to do it next. So as you just mentioned it, they become learning experiences, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely.
And
Yeah.
you've experienced that, right?
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes, yeah, there again, that perfectionism that, sort of like, oh, I know what I would have done and you didn't do it that way. And so now that's a fail. Like, yeah, I've really had to like learn how to communicate like, hey, I love what you did, but what do you think of this? Or,
Mhm.
I see where you're headed, but this was what I was thinking. And just, yeah, trying to really just be, kind to
Mhm.
their process because they're not
Yeah.
in my head, one, and two, they have other, thoughts about it also. And so, yeah, you're totally right. And having it be learning, having it be a
Mhm.
process, not like this, like you did it or you didn't, it's a
Yeah.
pass fail, or it was like a win-lose deal.
Mhm. And that really speaks, I think, a lot to your management style, which is you're not that do as I say because I pay you an hourly wage. You are more of that servant leadership, which I believe 100% in, and I find it to be the most powerful way to build out a team.
Sure.
And it sounds to me that again, that leadership should be, a class, right? That we all take in school, right?
Yeah,
Because
no. I
pretty
totally
interesting
get that.
stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's, as I sit here, I'm thinking, yeah, but, sometimes I fail, right? So sometimes I'm tired or I'm busy or not, you give the wrong reaction. So another thing too, I've learned is to learn how to say sorry,
Yeah.
when you
Yeah.
do react poorly and you realize you kind of hurt their feelings or that
Yes.
you know, you didn't speak in a way that was going to, be fruitful or productive to the conversation. So,
Yeah.
I've learned to say sorry too, go back and be like, yeah, I'm sorry about that response. That did.
Yeah. Oh, I think that just goes such a long way though.
Yeah.
And I certainly, I'm in my later 50s, and I think for many years you just don't want to admit to
Mhm.
perhaps not acting appropriately. And then as you go older, you realize that it's okay to not be perfect.
Right.
And I wish that I had learned that much earlier in my life, that I didn't have to be perfect and it was okay if I messed up, right? And to be able to say, oh, I had a bad day yesterday, and unfortunately you got the brunt of it. And for that,
Right.
I'm really sorry. And that's okay. Like
Yeah.
but I think we have to learn that, don't we, the hard way?
Oh
So
yeah.
I wish
Yeah.
somebody had mentioned it to me when I was 21.
Right. No, you're right. That's so true.
Yeah.
Yep. Being able to humble yourself and say you're sorry is not an innate trait. I think you do have to learn it.
So, one of the other things that you were talking about, which is sort of near and dear to my heart, which is community engagement, which is the giving back portion of it. Now, I will, just in case you don't want to pat yourself on your back, I will do it for you. Is that I know that you work extensively with Smiles Change Lives, and you know I love that company and I love
Yeah.
the people that are running it. In fact, I did a webinar with Alexis just last week, and he's just so incredibly passionate about what he's doing.
Yeah.
And anytime I talk to him, I just get all like riled up again, like we got to do more, we got to do more, but you're doing more. So how many patients you're seeing patients monthly with this?
Yeah, so we take two per month. We start two per month, or we accept two new
Hmm.
Smiles Change Lives kids per month, and um, so yeah, so 24 a year. I mean, it's, it doesn't even sound that much when you say it that way, but yeah, that's, so we accept those kids in phase ones, phase twos. And yeah, I love Smiles Change Lives because they've got a great vetting process. They've got a great system to, the patient donates to the corporation, or to the charity rather. And so that's their skin in the game.
Hmm.
They qualify them financially as well as, some other ways. And then there's a really sense of like accountability to the rules of, you have to brush your teeth, you have to come to your appointments, you can't expect, the best appointment in the schedule. And those things are all spelled out to them through Smiles Change Lives, so that then
Hmm.
you get to just be the guy who's like, hey, we're going to make your teeth straight. And,
Hmm.
they've kind of are abiding by those rules, not, not necessarily because you're the bad cop, so to speak, on these. And,
Hmm.
Alexis always says, hey, if you're having trouble with a patient on any of those issues, let us know. And, we'll talk to them. And not that
Hmm.
I don't want to have a bad conversation, but it's like, you don't have to invent all that. It's all set
Yes.
for you. And
Mm.
you just get to say, hey, I'd like to be a part of it. And then Alexis has a whole process, and the Smiles Change Lives team has a whole process to like make it happen. So yeah, our team, and and honestly, the whole reason we do it is, or one of the, not the reason we do it, but one of the biggest reasons that I love it is, we do it because it's great for the kids, and we do it because I want to be helping the community. But one
Sure.
of the benefits of it is, it just is so great for the team.
Mhm.
The team really, man, for them to see that, because we have starts goals, and we know how much the value of a start is. And so, we're blessed that we have a lot of, resources coming in. And
Mhm.
so, this is our way to give it out, and
Mhm.
to give back to these families who can't afford it.
Yeah.
And we know again that process is set to where it's like, yeah, they really have proven that through the
Mhm.
financial vetting that Smiles Change Lives does. And so there's not a question of like, oh, do they really deserve it, or how do we know? You just,
Yeah.
because
Yes.
sometimes you don't have a sense of that, again, unless there's been
Yeah.
some vetting. And so the team then in response is just like, man, we are so happy and proud to be a part of what these
Right.
kids, making these kids' teeth straight, and
Mhm.
these families, and just getting to kind of love on the kids,
Yeah.
and get to know the kids and their siblings. A lot of times they get to know
Mhm.
the parents, and just know that, we're making an impact on their smile and in their life in lots of ways, I think. So it's great. The team loves it. They
Did you
really are
start
passionate.
it like recent or a year or so? Or I mean, I don't know how old Smiles Change Lives are. Is that something that you sort of adopted from the very beginning?
Yeah, I guess Alexis would maybe be able to tell me when I signed up. It's been years. It was
Yeah.
pre-COVID for sure. So, I mean, I probably, I've owned the practice 12 years, and I think we've probably been doing it for at least 8. But
Yeah.
But it's been in fits and starts, and just like with everything, you have to have a real process in place, and we didn't have that at first, and so sometimes it was not top of mind, and so we wouldn't let Alexis know that we would accept a case, and
Right.
so there would be months going by, and Alexis is so kind, he's not pushy about this, right? So he
Yeah.
doesn't come and say, hey, you got to take cases. He just likes
Yeah.
whatever you feel comfortable with. So
Yeah.
he kind of
Yeah.
waits for you to say, hey, we're ready for another one. Well, months would go by and we wouldn't. So couple years ago, I just told Alexis, I said, every month, just your staff needs to push us two names that we can follow up with, let the families know, and
Yes.
then we'll get them in for a consult. We'll do this
Mhm.
consult. And if it's if it's a case that we can
Mhm.
do, then we'll accept it. And so every month we get two. And so we don't even think about it. We just try
Yeah.
to systematize it so that we're not, so that we're making sure that we do that, and
Mhm.
again, the benefit has been so huge. Just every month we're excited to see who the two kiddos are that we get
Yeah.
to see
Yeah.
and meet, and so it's been great. Yeah, it's been
Ah,
really
that's
great.
so
And
amazing.
yeah, and the patients are great too.
Yeah.
That's sometimes I've talked to colleagues, and they're like, well, sometimes those families, they don't show up to their appointments, or, whatever. And, there's just a worry that you're not going to get a good patient. And
Right.
I would say that our experience has been that these families are so grateful, and
Mhm.
they're willing to do whatever you need them to do.
Mhm. Mhm.
And they're that's never been an issue. It really hasn't. And they just fit, and we don't do anything special, really. They get the same braces as everybody else. They get the
Right.
exact, it's the same, so they just fit right into our practice. So it's not
Mhm.
disruptive in any way.
Mhm.
And so we just do,
Yeah.
we treat the kids that we're treating pro bono the exact same, and right next to the other kids who are paying full price.
Yeah.
They're all the same with regards to our processes and our finishing and our systems. So
And then many times people don't like to talk about this. So I'm very curious as sort of how you manage this is when you do pro bono cases and you do work with a charity like Smiles Change Lives, is that a part of maybe the marketing that you maybe can post these success stories on Facebook? And many people are like, well, I don't like to pat my own back. It's just that weird feeling that you get around
sure.
telling people that you've done something good, right?
Yeah.
What do you do in that situation? And I mean, how do you market this in any way?
You know, we do a little bit,
Yeah,
I mean, it's definitely, if we have and it's probably, again, we don't have a good system for it. So I suppose we could take a picture of every single Smiles Change Lives finish and post it every single time. But,
yeah,
we're busy enough that, and because they are exactly this, we
hmm,
treat everybody the same. Some probably come and go, and we don't take
right,
the Yvonne photo and then
yeah,
get it to Paris so that she can post it, so it doesn't happen quite like that, but we sure have. And
yeah,
Alexis actually is asking for a lot of, he
yeah,
would like those photos. Can we
yes,
get a photo of you and the child finishing up or getting their braces on,
right,
because they want that stuff for
yes,
their marketing too. And so typically, if we take one for them, or if we know that we're going to, then we will post it. But
hmm,
yeah, you're right. We don't always shine too big of a light on it.
right,
I think it's on our website that
right.
that we're involved in the community in that way.
But
But
it's an added benefit that no one likes to talk about, but it really
yeah,
is an important benefit. And
sure.
I've talked to Alexis quite a bit about that, in that, sometimes we have to talk about the elephant in the room if we really want to run, even though it's a charity, it has to run like a company,
Yeah,
right? And so the idea of this, I certainly know that if I was looking at Main Street here in the village I live in, and there's four orthodontists, and one guy is just telling me about he's a good guy, right? Like I want to come and be treated by the good guy,
sure.
that's super nice guy.
Yeah,
So, I would place value on it personally, if I was making a decision, right?
right.
And so I think it's perfectly fine to do a little bit of marketing in a very tasteful way.
Yeah,
And, make sure that people in your local community knows that you're part of the community doing good things. And on top of that, what was interesting about what Alexa said, he talked about there's a waiting list. There's a giant, they
right.
need doctors. We as a community, we need doctors to say yes to this.
Right.
And we want to be able to make sure that they know all the benefits that come side by side with working with a charity like this.
Right.
He told me about one young lady, and he was very, very upset that committed suicide while she was on the waiting list. And he said, I don't want to tell anybody about that because, who wants to hear? But maybe we do need to have a chat about it, right? Because it
Yeah.
is reality. It is a fact. And we obviously we don't know all the nuances that went along with that. But that's a conversation. And we as an industry have the power to change that. How I
Sure.
don't what and I said to Alexis, we don't have lots of dollars and cents to give you, but I have elbow grease, right? We have
Sure.
great team members that would be willing to edit videos for you or do some graphic
Right.
design work. We don't have the dollars and cents, but there is the companies that do. So for the
Sure.
companies that are watching us today,
Yeah.
we got to get more involved. We got to put money towards this. We've got to put elbow grease towards it. We
Yeah.
are a really beautiful industry that has so much to give.
Yeah.
And these young boys and girls have never had the opportunity to have this type of experience
Sure.
before. And I think it was you that mentioned that, maybe I was talking to someone else, that one of your patients that was a Smiles Change Lives patient had just never been treated so respectfully before and so caring before. And many of these kids are from broken families and they just have not had that type of experience. And it shows them a different world,
It
right? That
does.
there's a good and caring world out there.
I agree. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I think there's tons of potential. I sent out, it's been 6 months now. I sent out a text to some of my colleagues and just said, kind of Alexis said and asked, if within your little sphere, if just kind of give a heads up that you're involved in this. And so I did. I wanted to kind of to amongst my own little circle. And so I sent out a text to probably, I don't know, in the end, it was like 10, 12, 14 different orthodontist friends that I had their text number. And I was actually really surprised how many of my colleagues hadn't even heard of Smiles Change Lives. And so just awareness is really an important thing. And yeah, I think, there's other ones too. There's a few others that are doing
Smile
donated.
for a Lifetime
Right.
and
And I think
Empowering Our Warriors. I think that's the name of it, right?
yeah, for
Yeah.
veterans, yeah. And then
Yes.
I think the AO is kind of revamping they have
Yeah.
donated services. And so, maybe all those should coalesce into one. Maybe that doesn't make sense. I have no
I don't
idea,
know why
but
it wouldn't. Put all of
whatever that
your
they could do,
do it
whatever,
together.
yeah, but just more awareness and really, I don't know if expectation is the right word, but just more of a feeling of amongst all of our team of our colleagues that, hey, this is something we need to be doing,
Yeah.
like this is a way. And, and I know that a lot of orthodontists within their own little practice will kind of just have a case where they say, hey, we're going to do this for no charge. So I think that
Yes,
people
of
are
course.
doing pro
Yeah.
bono work in their offices,
Yeah.
but again, this one's just great because it's so systematized, and and these kids, they really don't have access. They're not gonna, like you might make the decision to treat a case pro bono when they hit your door, but these kids are never going to hit your door.
Right.
You're never going to get them in
Yeah.
except through the Smiles Change Lives process, because they've already sort of said, I can't even show up for a new patient exam to talk about it.
Yeah.
I don't have the resources, so that's the power of, I think, these organizations is that they're capturing a group of people that are never going to make a new patient appointment.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're also showing them that there's career paths, right? Inspiration,
Sure.
right? Because many
Yeah.
times, my cousin is here from Ireland, and she's on a mission. She was on a mission trip in, I think it was the Bronx in New York. And she worked for a company called Metro. And, her story when I picked her up from the train station, she's going to stay with me for a few days, is they get many low income, you get stuck in that circle where you don't get to experience a world beyond it. And
Right.
this allows those underprivileged kids to experience a world beyond their circle. And many times their circle is gangs, drugs, and now I'm carrying a knife, even though I'm a nice person and I wouldn't hurt a fly, but I carry a knife because I got to protect myself. And
Sure.
then I don't go to school because somebody got shot. And it becomes this circle that you and me and the people watching this webinar have no concept of that.
No,
Now,
no,
what's the solution? We don't know. That was our big conversation when my cousin got here. But what we can do is we can do small things
sure.
like this. So I applaud you for that. And
Thanks.
I, of course, highly recommend that anybody starting out in an orthodontic practice right now should just make this a part of their world, right? This is
Yeah,
just what we do. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, one or two cases per year is, not as easy to do in my opinion. And even a couple per month um,
Right.
has been very sustainable. When we went from one to two, you have that kind of thought like, okay, I guess we're gonna do that. But it's been great. It's
Yeah.
been great, and we'll, I hope we can just keep on building because it's been a really great experience. And again, the benefits to your team,
Yeah.
it builds just trust and unity, knowing that you're just taking care of these kids,
Mhm.
and that you're giving away the treatment that that we're all know makes such a big difference in these kids' lives.
And healthy team, right? Healthy, happy teams, again, helps you sleep at night.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, it builds longevity. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
loyalty, longevity in within your group. And yeah, giving treatment away is one of the most powerful things we can do in our profession, I think, to our teammates, or excuse me, to your staff, to
Mhm.
their families, and their
Right.
kids. And
It's
anyway,
far reaching.
right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then
I mean,
you
there's nothing
also
more
do,
discouraging, like
yeah.
I feel like there can be nothing more discouraging than you seeing a general dentist's kid, and for marketing purposes, you take care of their kid for free when
Mhm.
they are fully able to pay for that treatment because they're a
Yeah.
dentist, right?
Yeah.
But you do their kid for free, and then you see other kids who need that treatment and are
Yeah.
struggling to pay for it, and you make them pay full price, so
Yeah.
that's discouraging for your team because they see
Mhm.
that dynamic happening,
Yeah.
right? Because we are giving away treatment, but sometimes we're giving it away to the wrong people
Yes.
because
Yes.
it's to our benefit, they're
Right.
and this is just the benefit it is to these kids, and then we
Mhm.
get to be the beneficiaries of that, of that work. So yeah, it's been great. We enjoy it a great deal.
Now, what do you also work a lot within your community? So it says here community involvement. So tell me what you're
Yeah,
doing there that has really
yeah.
been great.
And I don't think I'm alone on this, but just for me and for my little world of my practice, being involved in the community from the start, again,
Mhm.
when you didn't have a lot of revenue coming in. And so when somebody would come and ask, swim team would say, hey, can you sponsor for $1,000 to be a platinum sponsor? It's hard sometimes to just give that away because you don't really know what the ROI is going to be. It's
Mhm.
different than a Google ad or something where you
Right.
track it. It's just money going out, and you just kind of sending it out into this organization that you're trusting is going to hopefully promote you, and your name gets on a t-shirt or whatever. But that for us, our practice, being involved in that very early,
Mhm.
and just saying yes to as many things as we could. And we wouldn't always do the highest level, but we would always say yes and give some donation to swim teams, dance teams, basketball teams,
Mhm.
everybody that we could. We would get, and PTAs for elementary schools and middle schools, and band organizations, orchestras. I mean, just the list goes on and on of the number of organizations that we are saying yes to with regards to sponsorship. And
Mhm.
again, it's not always at the highest level. We kind of look, try to be as strategic as we can. How far away are they from the office? How many kids do we
Right.
have? Do we have
Smart.
other kids?
Mhm.
So you have to be smart about it. But those investments in those organizations have generational impact. And here's what I mean by that is, it's like we gave to a swim team, 10 years ago, that
Mhm.
had 5 kids, right? And so then all 5 of their kids come to us because they're all involved with the swim team, and it's in the neighborhood, and every year we sponsor, and every year, so there's just there, it builds loyalty, and it's like, yeah,
Yes.
of course we're coming to you, and we brought number one, and now we're bringing number two. And then, we've even had it where it's like the mom, or excuse me, like they start to then tell, oh, you within that neighborhood, you've got to go see, and so then you start to see like the kids of kids, it's the anyway. So
Yeah.
that has been huge. And there again, it is marketing. And so,
Mhm.
yes, it
Yes.
is marketing, but it's community involvement marketing. It's different
Yes.
than a Google or Facebook ad. It's different than just saying, oh, we're going to have this lead funnel through our website, which is also marketing. It's really just kind of giving that money away to an organization and saying, do what you see fit with it. And
Yeah.
there are some things that they say, okay, we're gonna, again, as I said, put your name on a t-shirt, or
Yeah.
you're gonna be listed on our heat sheet for the weekly swim team meets or
Mhm.
whatever.
Mhm.
But you don't really know what that's going to yield. But the people's that are involved in that, and then their appreciation to you for doing it, and then how that spreads within their little community
Mhm.
has been worth 10 times
Yeah.
what we've invested.
Again, it is, you always want to do business with somebody that you like, right? That's that saying that we've all heard a billion times.
Sure.
And as I said, on my main street of orthodontists, I'm going to go to the one that perhaps I've heard, anytime you think, oh, okay, it's time, your name probably just pops into their head because they don't know how they saw your name. They
Right.
saw you somewhere. And this
Sure.
is a large part of actually a new project that we're starting with Retainers for Life is we want to help you, our onboarded
Sure.
doctors, and help you participate in the communities because we want moms to hear the words, not only your name, but the words Retainers for Life. And
Right.
they'll come to your practice and you'll say, yes, we do Retainers for Life. They're like, yeah, I've heard of that company, but they won't know where.
Right.
And we just want to be that common name like Invisalign, but we don't have
Sure.
Invisalign's dollars to do it, right?
Right.
Nor do we have to, because I can stand side by side with someone like you and say, let's do it together,
Sure.
right? And so it's something that you don't realize in the beginning that you think I have to create an ad and put it in a magazine and then give a telephone number and then people call and that yes, that I will spend money on that ad again. It really is the participation, and it comes back to you in so many different ways,
Right.
right? That's really even hard to put your finger on and say, oh, that I'm going to do it because I get this return on it, this dollar
Sure.
amount return.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And plus,
Yeah.
once more, and there's a common theme with your advice is that it's all helping you sleep at night.
Right. Yeah. No, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
Is there anything else? I think I think that's what we had went over. Have I forgotten anything that, so you're now, let's just dream for a moment. You're now, let's say you're 30 years old. You're just getting into practice. Is there anything else that you want to give yourself a good talking about?
I think there was one more that I did have in mind, and I
Oh,
don't know
good.
if I mentioned it or not, but I was thinking that don't be afraid to try new things. I
Technology. Yes,
and
yes.
really that's in lots of ways, but like for me, what it's meant is like within our clinical system, don't be afraid to
Mm,
try new things, because sometimes that it's a cliche that, okay, the doctor's going to go to a meeting and they're going to come back and they're excited about something and their staff's going to stomp it,
yeah.
because they don't want to change, and people don't like change. And, and I'm not necessarily that I like change, but what I do enjoy is trying to, if I see a good idea, I trying to our best to implement it. And
Mhm.
that, you talked about culture and, the team and,
Mm,
coaching and all those things that we talked about before, like sort of that sort of heart within our practice of
mm,
like, we're going to try this new thing. We can always go backwards if we don't like it. You can always
mm,
go back to the way you did it before, but let's try this new thing. And so within our team, like if I come home from a meeting and I say, hey, I've got this great idea and here's why, of course we're going to talk about it. And there's been some that, yeah, maybe not, but for the most part, if it's an idea that it seems like it's going to help us,
yeah.
our team is just like, let's do it. And so I mean, over the course of the years, my 11 years, I mean, we've tried lingual, we're doing, MARPEs, we've done, self-legating, we're doing, like the custom systems and, different switch toll bracket systems, and we just, and retainers for life is
Yeah.
another example, like we tried to do our own in-house retainer plan and failed miserably. And then, I met Amy and discussed retainers for life with her. And so then I said to the team, I really think this is a better option. Let's go this route. And the
Yeah.
team, and again, that's part of that culture of your team saying, yes, let's do
Yes.
it. Let's write up scripting. Let's, new peripherals, new handouts, new processes of submitting, and, because everything has to fit within your little hamster wheel, I
Right.
say. But if you have a team that's willing to do it, then I think it actually makes practice more fun. Like
Yeah.
you can get a little monotonous, right? Like what we do is actually
Yes.
a little bit boring. You just put the brace on and you adjust them and you take them off. Like that part of it is kind of boring. um, the kids are great, and that's what makes practice awesome, is dealing with the families and the kids and that. But then if you're also spicing it up with some new things and some new
Right.
techniques and some new, things that you're trying, not just for you, but I think for your team, it's
Yeah.
really great. And especially, if it makes, your life easier, if it makes your practice better, and if it benefits patients, like for us, like that, for just for retainers for life, for example, like
Mhm.
that's one of the big reasons we did retainers for life, is because it's such a hard conversation to have when somebody comes and there's like, oh, I lost my retainer, you know,
Right.
and and now we just are so easy to say, yeah, we've got a solution for that. Like if you lose it, you can get that without having to, one, come see me potentially, because we have your
Yeah.
scan and we can just get it sent to your house. But then two, if you lose it again, you don't have to pay, 350 or 250 or 150 or whatever you
Right.
charge
Yeah.
for it again. You
Yeah.
know what the price is going to be, and and you can just go online and order it. And so that the patients are grateful for that. And honestly, that's become, if anybody, even if they didn't even have treatment with me, they move from Houston, they move from LA, they move from wherever, they call us and they say, oh, you know what? I from out of town, I didn't have treatment with you. I lost my retainer. We sign them up for retainers for life. And then they get their replacement retainer as part of that transaction. So then they
Yeah.
get the thing they need, but then they're in their head, they're like, you guys are amazing, because
Yeah.
now next time when I lose it again, I only have to pay the copay. And and they've already lost one, so they know it can happen again. So they are grateful for the
Yes.
retainers for
Yes.
life as the replacement option. And then, the other conveniences that you can go online and do it, those are just kind of gravy, because
Yeah.
the cost part is sort of just, they don't have to like call five orthodontists and figure out the
Figure it
cheapest
out.
one,
Yep.
or figure out who they can even get in with. Sometimes that's the
Yeah.
hardest part. So
It-
stuff like that,
Yeah.
it makes it, when your team grabs hold of an idea
Mhm.
like that, or hey, we're going to try this different practice system because it might make our
Mhm.
patients treat faster. Saying yes to that new thing oftentimes yields a really great benefit, versus just
Mhm.
like, oh, I don't want to shake up the system. So
Yeah.
building a culture of trying new things, but then yourself trying new things too,
Yeah.
I think is huge.
And it allows your team to feel that they're not just, again, a 9 to 5 job where they go and they have this sort of like repetitive type tasks that they have to do over and over again, that they're building a career versus just humdrum, right?
Oh yeah,
But I completely understand because I hear it all the time. And of course, Amy's telling me all the time about how teams will, you come back and be excited about retainers for life, but the team doesn't want to do it. That's why there's a bonus system for the team, right?
sure.
So it's to get them excited and make them understand that they're part of it. And I think whenever they present it for the first time and the mom goes, hell yes, how fast can you sign me up for this? Then
Right.
they realize that this is not something to sell, that this really is something that their patients are needing and
Totally.
wanting, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so there's such a win-win and everything. I try my best not to talk about retainers for life, but sometimes it happens, right?
sure. Yeah,
Well, I think
absolutely.
that you've had some amazing advice for yourself. Really, really think that this will benefit those who are just starting out You give them the benefit of all your experience. And so I truly appreciate you sharing.
You bet.
Love having you as an onboard doctor here at Retainers for Life and appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, you bet, Lorraine. I enjoyed it. Thank you so much. And yeah, I hope it's wisdom. It's definitely advice, but hopefully it's wisdom. And so yeah, uh, appreciate you too, Lauren. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.